Hey, what's going on? Just want to make a video highlighting some of my favorite books, mostly hardcover. Most of them essentially are about movies, and they're all about movies actually. So here's the stack I have. Let's take a look. I got this here, Indiana Jones, The Complete Making of, by this J.W. Rinsler fella. And this is the hardcover edition, which was only made available in England, but I got it on Amazon.com, and I requested this from the UK seller. I think it was like $35. Basically, it just has all kinds of behind-the-scenes info and movie-making stuff. Looks like this is talking about George Lucas and Star Wars and stuff here. Spielberg, and then it gets into, it actually has a segment for each of the movies from the Indiana Jones series: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and then there wasn't much on Crystal Skull because I think this book came out before that movie came out, and so they didn't want to spoil too much. I'm just speculating that. But anyway, it's a pretty hefty sized book, a couple hundred pages. And here is Last Crusade. Oops. So I had this one covered. My sister worked in a library for a little bit, and I had her cover this book for me. Here's Crystal Skull stuff. So anyway, a lot of good stuff. If you like behind the scenes, making of books, this is the definitive one for the Indiana Jones movies. Like I said, this was covered. Next up is also by Rinsler. Am I saying that right? Rinsler, yeah. It's the definitive making of Star Wars. And this is, there's been a few of these over the years, but this one is just awesome. It's got a lot of never before seen pictures in it, and artwork and such. There's the Star Wars, looks like the original treatment maybe. So a lot of content here. And it's impossible to show every single page, but you get the idea. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, storyboards, script. Actually, the entire script is in here. That's kind of a cool scene there. Yeah, so just a fantastic book. Lots of stuff to see. So that's Star Wars, the original Star Wars, and this book is also covered. And this came out a few years ago. And I also have the making of The Empire Strikes Back. The making of Return of the Jedi is actually coming out in October, so of course I'll be grabbing that to complete the trilogy here. But again, the guy did a fantastic job putting this together. A lot of cool stuff in here. These are all the hardcovers. Some black and white, some color photos. So there's The Empire Strikes Back. This one here is I think the newest one I have. This one is Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, which I just love. Let's see if I can pick this thing up. This is from a different author, but this goes through. I want to actually sit down and read this book. Goes through the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, which is probably my second favorite set of films behind Star Wars. A lot of cool stuff in here, a lot of pictures, making of. Some background stuff, comic book stuff. So just really cool. This is all on the Batman trilogy. It's called the Art and Making of the Dark Knight trilogy. This next one's Star Wars related. I got this a long time ago. This is 365 Days of Star Wars. It's kind of like a behind the scenes making of type of book also. A lot of new pictures in here. Pictures that, you know, at the time they were new, never before seen. I think this came out maybe almost, I don't know, 8-9 years ago. And it's kind of cool to flip through just one day at a time. Mostly pictures, very little text, so it'll be very easy to read through this thing. Here's an interesting photo. So this is essentially, it goes from Star Wars, I believe, all the way up through Revenge of the Sith, or yeah, it runs all the way up through. It's all 6 movies. Yeah, so it's a neat book. Creating the World of Star Wars, 365 Days. And I also have the making of Star Wars books from the prequel trilogy from the same author of the original trilogy, J.W. Rinsler. But these are not as big. They're not as, I guess, robust. Here is, you can see they're this thick. This is Revenge of the Sith. This one is, actually this one is by Jody Duncan. And, okay, so this is by Rinsler. It looks like they retained him to do the other ones. This one came out before it. Myth making. And this is the making of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, also by Jody Duncan. So I don't think I would invest in, if they were to redo these in the same larger type of format, I don't think I would reinvest in buying them for the original the prequel trilogy. I don't particularly care for the prequel trilogy. And then the last book I have is a book I got, I think almost 15 years ago. Actually, yeah, about 15 years ago. It's the Star Wars Chronicles. And this book was expensive. I bought this when I was like poor and out of college and I just started my job. It was like a $120 book at Barnes & Noble. And I think this was first published in Japan, and then they translated it for the U.S. But it has a slip cover, and this, at the time, was the most extensive Star Wars book available. And there was a lot of, at the time, never before seen photos from the Star Wars archives and such. So it's a large, large format. And they even have stuff from like the this is like a big fold-out thing here. Another fold-out. A lot of great photography in here from the Star Wars universe. Just for reference, the size of the Super Star Destroyer compared to Cloud City. And they also have the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I don't know if you've seen that, but it was an absolute turd of a Star Wars, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was on television in 1978. It ran for 2 hours. I actually bought a bootleg copy on DVD a couple years back, and it is just god-awful. But there are some photos in here from that special. If they kind of show it. buying this book and putting it in my credit card and be like, oh crap, $130 or whatever it was. I was in New Hampshire at the time, so I saved on sales tax. Yeah, I don't know. So okay, so here's some of the pictures from the Star Wars Holiday Special. Look at Luke. I mean, doesn't look any. I don't know what they did with him for that. There's Chewbacca's family. Best thing about that special was the cartoon. Here's the cartoon. Actually used all the voices of the actors and actresses, and had Boba Fett in this cartoon. You can find this on YouTube. Pretty good. So anyway, so this is the Star Wars Chronicles. I think there is a prequel Chronicles or something similar, but I'm not interested in that. So this was probably the first big book that I had purchased, that pertained to Star Wars or any of the things that Indiana Jones or whatever stuff I'm interested in. So yeah, Star Wars Chronicles, and these are just some of my favorite books here. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you next time.